So let's start with the first step, installing Node.js. For that, make sure you visit nodejs.org and simply install the latest version there. Whichever exact version that might be when you're viewing this, simply download and install the latest version you find here, and then simply walk through it. You have to accept the license agreement, then choose a place where you do want to install it. You can typically keep all the defaults here. You don't need to check this checkbox here though. Continue, and finish up that installation here in the end. So, once this is installed, we can continue with Node.js and use it, and use that tool that was installed together with it to install the additional packages which we need. Or the additional package to be precise, because we only need one. For that, open up your default command prompt, which comes with your operating system, so you don't need to install that, it should already be there. And now here in this system prompt, run npm. That command is now available because you installed Node.js, and this now refers to the Node package manager that was installed automatically together with that. npm, and then there you can run the install sub command to install a package. Add -g to make it clear that the package you want to install should be installed globally on your system so that it's available everywhere on your system. And then the package name. And that name is Power BI, one word, -visuals-tools. So one word, only separated by dashes, and hit enter. And this will now download this tool and automatically install it on your system. And you don't need to do anything for that. Now, if you see warnings here throughout that process, you can ignore that. That won't be a problem. If you're getting an error, though, check whether it's a permission error. And if it is, try opening a new command prompt and run this as administrator, and then try the command again. But here for me, it works just like that, and it can take a while. So let's wait for this installation to finish. And once it's finished, which you can tell by the fact that there is no error at the end, and you see something like this here at the bottom of this output, which tells you that the package was installed. Once you finished here, you can run another command, because we now are done with installing the Power BI custom visuals tools. Now we need to create and use that certificate. And for that, you should run pbiviz, which is now a new command that is available because of that package which we just installed. So this Power BI visuals tools package we just installed basically adds this new command to our system. The pbiviz command, which of course stands for Power BI visualizations. And there you can just run it like this, but add --install-cert. And this will basically create such a certificate. Now you might get an error that no certificate was found. In this case, it will create a new one, and it will tell you where the new one is stored and what the passphrase for that is. And therefore, as a next step, go to the location you're seeing here. You can just copy it and exclude the file, so just go to the folder in which this pfx file is located. And enter this here in your Explorer, and you'll be taken to that file, and then right-click on it and choose Install PFX, and you'll open up that certificate import wizard. Now there, choose Current User, and click Next. Leave the path here, and click Next. And for password here, choose that passphrase which you received without the quotes. So just the content between the quotes, and enter this here. You can also display it to verify it. Leave the default settings and click Next. And on the next step, choose Place all certificates in the following store and click Browse. And choose Trusted Root Certification Authorities. And then OK, and then Next. Click Finish thereafter, and confirm this warning here that you want to add the certificate here. And once you did that, you're done with setting up the certificate. Now, if you should be following along on Mac OS, which is unlikely given that Power BI is a Windows tool, but if you should be following along on Mac OS, or if you're facing any problems during that setup process as a whole, attached to this lecture, you also find a link to the official setup guide, where you can find a written step-by-step guide also for Mac OS. With that, however, you should be done. You got the certificate set up, you got the tools installed, you got Node.js. Now we need an IDE so that we can edit our code, and then we can finally create our project and start writing some code there. Now, when it comes to the IDE, it's generally up to you which tool you want to use there. As I said, you could also use the default text editor, but that won't be too much fun. I strongly recommend that you use Visual Studio Code. This is an IDE by Microsoft, but it's actually just a coincidence. You don't need that for Power BI or anything like that. But it is a great IDE which is free to use and which is also very easy and fun to use. So let's download that from code.visualstudio.com and install it on our system simply by walking through all the default settings here. Install it. And then, once the installation finished, we can also already start it. And it should look something like this. And that's where we're going to open a project and then edit our code later. Now, speaking of that, we now need a project where we actually write our custom visual code. So let's create that. And for that, we again need the command prompt. Now comes an important step. You now need to navigate here in the command prompt to the folder where you want to create your project. You can also navigate to that path where you want to have your project in the Explorer. Then click in the bar up here to see the path that looks like a URL. And if it starts with anything but C or anything but the folder you already are in here in the command prompt currently, just type that drive name, D for example, followed by a colon, and you'll switch there. And if you're not in the right folder where you want to go already, you can then use the cd command and, for example, type cd dev to navigate into the development subfolder. Now, the cd command always is relative from the path you're already in here. So if the development folder had another development subfolder, I could go there with the cd command. If it had some other subfolder, I could go there with the right command, with the right folder name after cd. So cd allows you to switch into subfolders, or if you need to go up one level, you can type cd ... Now you see I'm just in D. And if I then want to go back into development, you can again type cd develop, devel, hit tab, and it should be auto-completed, and hit enter to go in there. That is how you can navigate around here in the command prompt. And you need to do that because we're going to create the project here in the command prompt with a command, and that command will create the project in the path we're currently at. So we want to make sure we run it in the right place. Now that command to create a new project is pbiviz, so that tool we already used earlier, new, and then any name of your choice. I'm going to name it bar chart because for the demo purposes of this module, we're going to build a basic bar chart custom visual. Now, of course, such a chart type would already be included in Power BI, but this module is about getting you started with custom visuals and showing you how it generally works. Therefore, such a basic chart type is great to get started. So, pbiviz new bar chart and hit enter. And this now creates a new visual project in the end, installs some extra packages, some project-specific dependencies this project needs, and it will tell you once it's done. So let's wait for that. And eventually, it should finish. Now with that, you'll notice that in that folder where you want to create the project, you have a new bar chart folder, and that is your project folder where you actually will also find the custom visual source code we're going to work on later. Before we work on any code, let's however see what we get there by default, and let's see how we can test this. For that, you now navigate into that created folder with the cd command. So in my case, cd bar chart, because I named the project bar chart, and therefore a folder named bar chart was created. And that moves us into that project. And in there, once you're in there, run PBI Viz start. And this now starts up a development server, which basically you could say hosts your project using that certificate we installed earlier, and which is reachable by Power BI service. So in the end, this is a development server that is able to talk to Power BI service so that we can test and preview our visual there. And now here's one important note. This process here, as you can tell, doesn't finish. It keeps on running. We don't go back to the input prompt. Keep it running as long as you are developing, because this will then automatically push the latest version to Power BI service whenever you save an update, whenever you save a file. If you're done for the day, you can always quit this by pressing Ctrl+C and then choosing yes here. And then you can always restart it by repeating PBI Viz start when you go back to developing. But as long as you are developing, keep it running. So I will keep that process running. Don't close it. Keep it running in the background. And let's now see what was created, not in code, but actually in Power BI service, because that is, as I just mentioned, where we can preview our visual.